Next slide, please. Here's what to expect today. In a moment, you'll have a chance to greet some of today's participants in a breakout. Part of building a movement is building strong personal relationships, so we always take time to meet and greet. Since our focus today is decarbonization, or getting fossil fuels out of our buildings, our breakout question will explore personal experiences with reducing fossil fuel use at home. Then Miranda from MCAN will describe the Zero Carbon Renovation Fund bill. We'll take our action together, and finally we'll come back to get updates and learn about next steps. Know that you will receive today's slides and program by email later today, so no need to take notes or worry if you want to do more. Next slide. Mothers Out Front, along with over 150 allies, supports speeding the pace of building decarbonization in Massachusetts, especially in environmental justice communities. This bill will create a fund with at least $300 million, possibly using state surplus funds. So we need to get legislators to quickly pass and secure funding for this bill. We'll hear more about the benefits to public health and workforce development when we come back from our breakout. Next slide, please. If you are using closed captioning, you have the option to stay in this room because closed captioning is not available in breakout. During our breakout, we'll have 5 minutes to introduce ourselves and then to describe what would you like to do first or next to decarbonize or use less fossil gas or oil at home? What could be the benefits or the obstacles? We're all in different stages of decarbonization. Let's share some of our stories as a way to introduce ourselves during this breakout.
Being recorded.
Welcome back. If your discussion included the difficulty of finding affordable, experienced workers to install heat pumps, solar panels, or other decarbonization projects, you would not be alone. As MCAN leader Miranda DiOlio will explain, creating a knowledgeable workforce is one of the challenges the Zero Carbon Renovation Fund hopes to address. Turning things over to you now, Miranda.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. We want to head over to the next slide. My name is Miranda DiOlio, and I'm the Buildings Campaign Director at the Massachusetts Climate Action Network, also known as MCAN. I'm so happy to be with you to give you a little bit of a summary of what our proposal is, who we all are, and why this is so important. So what is the Zero Carbon Renovation Fund? The Zero Carbon Renovation Fund is a proposal to jumpstart and transform the retrofitting of existing buildings and communities in need to dramatically cut greenhouse gas emissions. Next slide, please. As many of us are aware, we know that retrofits are a priority concern for the Commonwealth, and nearly 1/3 of Massachusetts carbon emissions come from its 2 million existing buildings. The Zero Carbon Renovation Fund is a tool to help us to get to our ambitious and needed goal of retrofitting 500,000 existing homes by 2030 and 300 million square feet of commercial property. We need solutions and funding now that can jumpstart and transform the retrofitting of all these existing buildings to all communities of need in order to dramatically cut our greenhouse gases. Next slide, please. And this is exactly what the Zero Carbon Renovation Fund Coalition is working towards. But before I get to the solution, I want to just provide a brief overview of who the Zero Carbon Renovation Fund Coalition is. The Zero Carbon Renovation Fund Coalition is a coalition of nearly 160 organizations and coalitions that have signed on to our proposal, representing over 63 units of affordable housing and also education, climate, and environmental justice communities. It includes environmental groups like MCAN and you all, Mothers Out Front. You'll be able to find your logo somewhere at the bottom left corner. And affordable housing organizations, also including developers like wind companies and Peabody Properties and several others. This is a diverse coalition with significant influence in a variety of different spaces. We have all come together with a proposal that we know will be critical to jumpstarting holistic building decarbonization. And most importantly, our proposal emphasizes equity. Next slide, please. So what exactly are we asking for and how can we get there? We are asking for $300 million to establish a zero carbon renovation fund. This fund would act as a down payment for the market transformation that is required to meet the state's legally binding emissions targets, which requires the retrofitting of 500,000 homes and 300 million square feet of commercial space by 2030. The fund would be administered by the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center, also known as MassEC, and could support a range of projects from electrification support, solar and storage projects, to deep energy retrofits. The benefits are numerous and would include reducing carbon emissions, improving climate resiliency, and improving health for communities in need. The proposal also aligns almost perfectly with the recommendations that were just put forward by the Clean Heat Commission report. Next slide, please. This fund shall be available to all buildings throughout the Commonwealth. However, we are prioritizing buildings located in environmental justice communities and communities disproportionately impacted by COVID-19. This fund will help those most in need and who stand to benefit the most from these renovations. This down payment on decarbonization will not only help communities most in need to decarbonize, it will also help improve health and climate resiliency within environmental justice communities, low and moderate income housing, municipal buildings, including schools, and minority and women-owned businesses. Next slide, please. We also view the Zero Carbon Renovation Fund as a direct subsidy tool to jumpstart the equitable building decarbonization market in Massachusetts. The fund would help folks retrofit buildings using these 4 key elements. 1, maximizing energy efficiency through building envelope upgrades, such as air sealing and insulation and window and door replacements. 2, electrification and building systems, including heating and cooling, ventilation, domestic hot water, and cooking appliances. 3, maximizing usage of on-site renewable energy, such as solar PV, wherever is possible. And lastly, consideration of building retrofit materials that are low embodied carbon. In other words, building materials that are less energy intensive to make and to transport to the building site. Next slide, please. It is important to highlight that zero carbon renovations are revolutionarily different than standard weatherization, which we are used to seeing from the Mass Save program. On average, standard weatherization reduces energy use by 15 to 20% max. Zero carbon renovations reduce energy consumption by at least 50% through energy efficiency before even adding renewables. These renovations are generally all electric and with renewables get close to net zero energy, thus making the buildings more climate resilient among all these other benefits. So as you can see, the zero carbon renovations are drastically different from standard weatherization. It is a more holistic approach that will result in deep energy retrofits. Next slide, please. In addition to not meeting our greenhouse gas emission goals, the cost of inaction is grave. Municipalities across the Commonwealth already spend billions in total each year on renovations and upgrades, many of which double down on our legacy fossil fuel infrastructure and move us further away from our climate goals. A zero carbon renovation fund is a tool we can implement right now to reduce energy bills, prioritize more sustainable use of public funds, and catalyze an equitable transition to a clean energy future, especially for those facing the greatest risk of getting left behind and stranded on high-cost fossil fuel systems. So as you can see from this slide, the cost of inaction is dramatic. We need to make this investment now. Next slide, please. We stand ready to transform our buildings from polluters to protectors of our health, our communities, and our environment. The Zero Carbon Renovation Coalition, which includes all of you, are building this momentum and conversation throughout the Commonwealth in order to make this transition. Next slide, please. To that end, I wanted to highlight our brunch, bubbles, and briefing on the Zero Carbon Renovation Fund that we held last week at the State House with our sponsors, Representative Vargas and Senator Gomez. This was a legislative briefing where we discussed our proposal and also showcased tangible materials that would be used in a zero carbon renovation. We had an HVAC system, a solar panel, a wall insulation mock-up. These legislators need to hear not only the importance and urgency of this work, but how it really is done and implemented at the ground level, and the incredible benefits that come from this work. So to that, I hope you all will take the time to reach out to your legislators through the action items that Andrea will now put forward. And I thank you all for having me today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Miranda. Brava. We have reached the point in the climate action call when we all get to make a difference. And I have to say, I'm so inspired by the idea of transforming our buildings from polluters to protectors. That's such a mother's message. So what are we going to do? We're going to ask our legislators to co-sponsor this bill if they haven't yet, and to continue to support the Zero Carbon Renovation Fund. Then we're going to ask others to ask their legislators to co-sponsor the bill. And the more co-sponsors a bill has, the better its chances of being passed. And of course, this bill is one of our 5 top priorities, which many of you will be hearing about shortly, the other ones. So next slide, please. Oh, sorry, that was the slide that I'm supposed to be on. We're going to be taking action, but hold off, don't leave the screen here. I'm going to show you some of the ways to make the biggest difference in asking your legislators. So next slide, please. So we're using a tool that the Coalition for Zero Carbon Renovation Fund created, probably thanks to, oh, actually, yeah, never mind. And it's going to be super easy to email at your rep and senator, because all you have to do is slot in your name and your contact information, and the tool knows who your legislators are. Then you personalize, because personalizing is what makes it effective, not just a form letter that you clicked and sent with no effort. Showing effort is how we influence our legislators. So you'll change a few things, create your own subject line, put the names in for your senator and representative, and say why you care. Say what is moving you to be here today, to take action on climate, and then sign with your name and town. And the next slide, please. If your legislators have already co-sponsored the bill, we want to thank them. They do not get enough thanks. So the action toolkit that we'll send you to shortly includes this list. So don't worry, you don't have to get it all right now. And many of our legislators have already co-sponsored. So in the action toolkit, there is also a suggested language, a document that you can borrow suggested language for a thank you. And if you can copy and paste that language and put it into the tool that is the easy peasy way to contact your legislators, great. But it's going to send a message to both of your legislators. So if only one has co-sponsored and the other hasn't, you probably want to send separate emails. You don't want to shame your legislator who hasn't yet co-sponsored. So if you have any trouble, we'll have a help room during the action part. Next slide, please. So then you spread the word with tweets and posts. There's suggested tweets that you can just click on to automatically tweet, and then you can adjust it to make it not exactly the same, or you can make your own, and then spread the word, especially if you don't tweet or post. Use your own email. Email friends and family. The more people we get to reach legislators beyond our normal reach, where our chapters are, where most of our members are, the stronger the chances of this bill passing will be. So again, here's in the chat is the link to the action toolkit. Please click on that or copy that link and put it into your browser and open it. And we're going to get to work. So we're going to start to be quiet here. If you have any questions, please drop them in the chat. And Elena, you can stop sharing now so we can see each other and feel the power of all of us taking action together. And I encourage you to stay muted, but to keep your picture up so that we can see each other when we glance up and, from the work we're doing. It's kind of amazing to feel like we're all here together working. And we'll meet back here at 12:40 to see how much we've accomplished. And then Max will share some important information and announcements. So Christine, one more time, drop the link to the action toolkit and we're off. If you need particular help, put it into the chat and we'll open a help room that either you can move yourself into or Deb can move you into, and just let us know in chat.
If people who are answering questions have a question. Nope.
Deb, can you put anyone with questions into the breakout room?
They seem to be putting themselves in.
Oh, there's a breakout room for questions. I didn't remember that.
No, all good. It's in help room. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So where's this help room?
Mary, can you, let's see, I'll put you in there.
Thank you.
This is Elaine Light. Would you put me in the help room also, please?
Of course.
Thank you.
Amy, Gelblum, can you put me in the help room too?
Of course. Can I have another? I think we might need another,
Me too.
Another what, Deb?
another person or another room. What do you think?
How many are in there?
Let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 with just one help person.
How would you split out the rooms? And who could?
I'd like to mention that the letter has the wrong numbers on it. Now that the final number has been listed, we shouldn't put the SDs and HDs. We should put the real number in for the bills.
What is the real number?
It's H3232 or S2365. I'll put that in the chat.
This meeting is being recorded.
So we can wind up on time. Can we bring people back in from the help room? So today's action was a little more complicated than they usually are, since we have people at all different stages. Our reps are at all different stages in co-sponsoring. But this was a good stretch for us to get back on to the climate action saddle. And didn't that feel good? A few notes from today. You'll receive a follow-up email with today's program. It's going to contain links to all these actions, today's program slides, and the recording. Please forward this email to your network and post the information from today on social media. Let's go back into slides, Elena. And we're looking for the slide that says welcome call. While Elena is finding the slides again, I'm going to encourage you to consider signing up for our next Massachusetts Welcome Call. These calls are especially useful if you're new to Mothers Out Front, or if you're returning after a hiatus, or if you're still trying to figure us out. Welcome calls are a fun and interactive 1-hour event where you get to find the U-shaped hole that's waiting for you in this movement to address the climate crisis. Please know your unique talents, ideas, and perspectives are desperately needed in this climate justice movement. Next slide.
Ellen, I think you can just go up to the left-hand corner and press the red button to get rid of the presenter notes, and we'll still see the slides on the presenter notes.
The
But
little
regardless-
the red dot.
On the left. So I
Great.
dropped the welcome, the information for the welcome call into the chat. So if anybody needs that.
Great. So here's some of the upcoming events. March 21st, the Bank Action Day. There is a petition party to stop the gas system expansion coming up. And our next climate action call is on April 25th. So, and I'll mention that again, if you go to the next slide. We want to thank you, Miranda and MCAN, for today's presentation. And many thanks to all of you for joining today. It feels great to take action together, knowing that we are all working to make our Commonwealth and our world a better place. I'm pleased that we can work alongside our many climate allies and hopeful that we can continue to build the momentum for our Clean Heat, Clean Air platform. From now on, you can plan to attend these climate action calls on the 4th Tuesday every month. Our next one will be Tuesday, April 25th at noon. So we hope you will be well, stay in touch, and we hope to see you again soon. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, everyone.